Today I would like to talk about the 97th Annual Academy Awards, which are happening this weekend as of the time of this video. And even though I am not a fan of the pageantry of the Academy Awards, and the background political gamesmanship drives me absolutely nuts, I do believe in celebrating the talent involved in the making of all these movies, so I like recognizing that even if the rest is stupid. In this video I'll talk about all 10 nominated films for Best Picture, the films nominated for Best Animated Film, Best International Film, and a few of the films nominated for Best Documentary, and give my ratings for them and what and who I think will win. I divided each movie I talk about into chapters in this video, so if you want to hear about specific movies, please skip to those points in the video. Sorry it took me so long to get this out, but there was one film I had to wait to see until I could do this, which I'll mention when I get there. Let's begin, shall we? Dune Part 2 is nominated for 5 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Cinematography, Best Sound, Best Production Design, and Best Visual Effects. I do really like this movie. I did not have a channel when this film premiered, so I want to review it now. The special effects are very well done in this film. In the first Dune, I had issues with how the effects looked dated and seemed out of place with the characters that surrounded them. But in Part 2, this has mostly been ironed out, and everything looks more organic to the worlds. My favorite visual sequence is the Colosseum on the Harkonnen home world. I like the black and white photography that is done here. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves for a moment and say that the Harkonnen look like the love children of the Helghast and the Strangers. But the visual look of this world is absolutely wonderful. It does only serve as a catalyst to show how powerful Feyd-Rautha is, but it did its job very well, and I got completely absorbed in this world. This movie is trying to go for the old-style Hollywood epics of years gone by like Lawrence of Arabia, Ben-Hur, and Gladiator, so this kind of thing is right up Hollywood's alley. The performances have much more weight than in the last movie. Timothée Chalamet is really good as Paul. Rebecca Ferguson, who is my favorite character in Part 1, is still good in this movie. Josh Brolin is good. Nearly everyone knocks it out of the park here. The standout for me is Austin Butler, for obvious reasons. I didn't even know it was him until the credits rolled, and I was amazed at how he disappeared into the character so seamlessly. I know people have taken issue with Christopher Walken as the Emperor, but I just get happy whenever I see him in a movie, so it really didn't bother me. The story flowed much better than Part 1 did, and even though it was longer, the time flew by much faster for me. I could tell this movie was edited down to the micrometer. The sound design was really well done, and I really like this universe a lot. Unfortunately, I have read the book and seen the David Lynch movie, so I have some issues with the design of the story that is in this movie. You have to bear with me here because I haven't read the book since I was like 14, so my memory might be a little fuzzy. The love story between Chani and Paul felt so forced to me in this movie. We meet her at the end of Part 1, and they are kissing and basically in love within the first half hour of Part 2. I could have sworn the book gave much more insight and pathos into their relationship, especially with Shani's rebelliousness and outright dislike for faith-based following. When I read the book, I felt like I understood her emotions much more than I do here. Here, to me, it seems like she just falls for Paul and has a rejection mindset about her that culminates in the final scene of the movie, which I won't give away in case you have not seen it. I just think Chani was given the broad brushstrokes of who her character really was in the source material, and not given any insight or feeling except for having a scoff face the whole time, and ended up having a similar arc to Padme in Star Wars on a political level. I know the story inspires Star Wars, but still. I wish they had spent more time building their relationship, explaining why she feels the way she does, and why she acts that way. I just don't see any true growth between Paul and Chani as a unit. It's more just about Paul's quest for revenge. I also thought Batista's character was relegated to fall boy and just screamed a lot here. I don't know what it is, but it seems that everyone writes the roles for Batista as being one note. I had the same issue with his performance in The Last Showgirl and The Killer's Game, and now I have it here. Could we please give Batista more to do in a role than just be in one mood? I'm sure he's a more talented actor than that. Also, the scenes involving Léa Seydoux were completely pointless for the arcs of this movie. It was cool to add the political intrigue, to see the Reverend Mother's scheme and all that, but if my memory serves me correctly, that's only there as a hook for the next movie. Please correct me if I'm wrong since I haven't read the books in years. I always know Léa Seydoux from Inglourious Basterds and Death Stranding where she plays Fragile. So while it was nice to see that beautiful face of hers, I just felt her character added nothing except some small world building. My biggest issue with this movie though is just how clean everything and everyone is for the world they are living in and all the things that are happening. Are you telling me that Paul can ride a sandworm and not have a speck of dust on his face? I don't like it when movies come off as too clean, and this one came off way too clean for me. One more side note, I loved seeing Josh Brolin and Javier Bardem together in a movie. If only someone would have cast Tommy Lee Jones in this, then we would have really been cooking. Anyway, I do really like this movie despite my nitpicks. It's in the tradition of great Hollywood epics, and it is a crowd-pleasing film. I just think that it hasn't been fully refined yet. But after seeing the quality leap up the way it did from part 1 to part 2, it gives me hope that these will get better as we continue. I give Dune Part 2 3.5 stars out of 4. It's a good epic film in the traditional Hollywood sense. Emilia Perez is nominated for 13 Oscars. Best Picture, Best Actress in a Leading Role, Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Best International Film, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Writing Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, Best Music Original Song, Best Music Original Score, Best Sound, and Best Makeup and Hairstyling. I have reviewed this movie twice on my channel. Once when it was new, and once after the awards were announced. So if you want my full review on this movie, there are a couple of places to see it on my channel. Bottom line, I mildly enjoyed it the first time and didn't like it very much the second time I saw it. I think El Ma is a good song, and I love Zoe Saldana's performance in this movie. The controversy around it can just go away as far as I'm concerned, and I am just so done talking about Emilia Perez. It's not a bad movie, it's a meh movie, and I never want to think about it or talk about it ever again. Watch my reviews of it, please, if you want more information about it. I give Emilia Perez 2 stars out of 4. Nickel Boys has 2 Oscar nominations, Best Picture and Best Writing Adapted Screenplay. I have a review for this movie on my channel as well. I liked this movie, and the performances of the 2 main characters were really good. I like the heart that this movie has, but it is a slave to its first-person gimmick, for better and for worse. There are times when we learn the fate of one of the side characters, and we don't feel the impact of that because the characters weren't there when that fate occurred. So it left me feeling cold instead of getting that gut punch the film wanted me to feel. I am all for trying new types of filmmaking, and I enjoy the effort put in here, but when you want to tell a story with this much weight, doing it in first person feels like a gimmick to me that only succeeds about half of the time. This is a good movie, don't misinterpret my words, and the chemistry between the 2 young men is really well done, but because the story is tied to the style over its substance, I couldn't fully connect with what the story was trying to tell me. It's still a good film that I recommend people see. I just think this is here because wow, it was done in first person. That deserves to be a Best Picture nominee for sure. I'm sure that was the mindset of a lot of Academy voters. If you want my full analysis of the film, please check it out on my channel. I gave Nickel Boys a low 3 stars out of 4. Anora is nominated for 6 Oscars, Best Picture, Best Actress in a Leading Role, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Film Editing. This one seems to be one of the favorites to win all of it. I love this movie. I place it number 3 on my Best Films of 2024 video if you want to check that out. I've seen it 2 more times since I made that video, and I just can't get this movie out of my head if I'm being honest with you. The first time I saw Anora, I had one issue with it, and that was Annie could have called the cops at any time in the second act and the movie would have been over. But now, that doesn't bother me at all. Anora is so well edited, so alive with its camera work, and its writing is so funny and sincere. It is fast-paced, but not in a way to gloss over things like a lot of films are. It's fast-paced because the character of Annie lives a fast-paced life, and the way she is swept off her feet makes her head spin, which is what happens when you meet someone that you think loves you and can get you out of your slumdog life. Annie is intoxicated by the access of high-class life, and she wants to embellish in it forever. The second act of the film is so incredibly funny. Sean Baker managed to take a situation of a girl being tied up in a room with 3 guys for like 15 minutes straight, and makes it hilarious to watch. The running around everyone does in the middle part gets me every time, and you've noticed the sweet and genuine feelings Igor is developing for Annie in this act, which helps make the last 10 minutes of the movie so much more powerful. Anora is sweet, erotic, chaotic, funny, thought-provoking, and heartbreaking. The way that the narrative thread is woven so well blows me away. Mikey Madison not only proves that she is a star with this role, but if she keeps getting roles as juicy as this movie is, she could be this generation's Cate Blanchett. I mean every word of that. I have seen her career trajectory in the last 5 or so years. I've seen her play a Manson crony in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've seen her play a complete psychopath in Scream 5. And seeing her yell at and dress down all the people she does in Anora just excites me. You don't want to mess with Mikey Madison. She would kick all of her asses. I know that everyone has gushed about this movie since it premiered at Cannes last year, but I'm here to tell you that after seeing it 4 times, it lives up to all of its hype and then some. Anora is a great movie, and I strongly recommend everyone to check it out. I usually describe it to people as Pretty Woman for Gen Z, but to be honest with you, I like Anora more than Pretty Woman. Please watch this movie right now if you have not seen it. I give Anora a loving and admiring 4 stars out of 4. It does deserve all of its hype. Conclave is nominated for 8 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role, Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Best Writing Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, Best Music Original Score, Best Production Design, and Best Costume Design. I have a review for this movie on my channel if you want to check it out. I posted that review on November 8th, 2024, and I have not thought about Conclave one time since I posted it. It's a decent film, but it's also a very safe one. It's one of those movies that is Oscar baity and wants to be liked. The performance by Ralph Fiennes is really awesome. I have liked almost all of the major performances he has had in his career, and I knew he would be nominated for this movie, and it's honestly justified as far as I'm concerned. John Lithgow was as good as this scumbag, and the performances are all decent to good, but there is no true insight in this movie except for the crisis of faith Fiennes' character goes through when they are attempting to select a new pope. There is a quote-unquote villain of sorts in this movie, but he's just a conservative running to be the new pope. But we are only told how old school he is and not shown anything to make us dislike him. Isabella Rossellini is nominated for this movie, and she's a great actress, but she's only in the movie for about 8 minutes. I guess if you want to use the term supporting to mean that Ralph Fiennes' character wouldn't figure out like 2 things unless she was around to tell him that, then I guess she qualifies as a Best Supporting Actress. But since Fiennes is in every single scene in Conclave, we don't get any risks to the issues that surround him. The one thing I loved about this movie was its production design and its costume design. I support those nominations completely, but Conclave is just a movie that exists to win awards, and has a good performance by a wonderful actor. Other than that, I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. It's not a bad film at all, just a completely forgettable one. Full thoughts on it? Then please check out my full review of it. I give Conclave 3 stars out of 4. A Complete Unknown is nominated for 8 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Best Director, Best Writing Adapted Screenplay, Best Sound, and Best Costume Design. See my review of Conclave for my thoughts on A Complete Unknown. It's basically the same review. A huge Oscar movie, and Timothée Chalamet is great in this movie as Bob Dylan. He nailed the role 10,000,000%. Monica Barbaro was one of my favorite characters in this movie. I like the on-again, off-again relationship she has with Bob Dylan, and she did a really good job with this role. But I'm sorry, why is Edward Norton nominated for this movie? I did not feel any true connection between him and Bob Dylan. It felt very forced, and we weren't given any insight into their relationship, especially near the end when it all begins to break up. If anything, the relationship I felt worked the best for me was the one that Bob Dylan had with Guthrie, the guy who was hospital-ridden through the whole movie that he would occasionally visit. I felt that relationship had more sincerity to it than any other relationship in A Complete Unknown. The biggest problem I have with this movie is the same that I have with most Hollywood biopics. It doesn't get deep into the characters that they are trying to spotlight. We are only given mostly surface-level material to chew on here, and no insight that may show our main character in an unflattering light. And that's how I feel about A Complete Unknown. I'm sure there were behind-the-scenes reasons why it was this way, but I didn't get any real deep thoughts into Bob Dylan. He remains a complete unknown. Oh, I see what you did there, movie. I enjoyed A Complete Unknown for what it was, and the performances by Chalamet and Barbaro are wonderful. I just think they're trapped in a basic by-the-numbers biopic with no real chance-taking, and those typically turn me off. I'll probably watch it again for the music if nothing else, but it didn't excite me any more than that. It is a crowd-pleasing movie, so don't let me dissuade you from seeing it. I just think it's too formulaic for its own good personally. I gave A Complete Unknown 3 stars out of 4. The Brutalist is nominated for 10 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Original Screenplay, Best Editing, Best Music Original Score, and Best Production Design. I really like this movie a lot. It's definitely the most ambitious movie nominated this year. I loved seeing this in the theater because it was the first movie I've ever seen in my life that had an in-movie intermission. That was super cool to experience. The story is big, bold, powerful, and down to earth. Adrien Brody is so phenomenal in this movie. I know that there has been controversy surrounding the usage of AI to help him with his accent, but that doesn't bother me too much because I imagine pulling off that accent that accurately is really hard even for someone as talented as Brody is. The thing that I take issue with is the apparent usage of AI for some of the scenery. That's where I draw the line personally. This movie is epic as it is. We don't need the shortcut of AI to make it more epic. I'm already drawn in so much, so that was self-defeating in my opinion. Guy Pearce has always been one of my favorite overlooked actors, and he did not disappoint in The Brutalist. I do think that some behaviors his character portrayed near the end of the film feel completely out of left field and unearned to me, and if you have seen the movie, then you know what I'm talking about, but I think that's the writing and not his performance. Felicity Jones is great in this movie too, but her character is to one of my biggest issues with this movie. It's very top-heavy and begins to fall apart a little bit after the intermission. It's not a complete collapse, but it seemed like Brady Corbett had about 75% of an amazing story written, and then didn't know how to tie everything up completely. And Jose's character is one of those issues for me. Her character is underwritten for what her importance to the second half of the story is. I really think that if they would have just let the last hour of the film cook just a little bit more, we could have had something truly special here. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the epilogue. I know why it's there, but it felt tacked on just to give finality to all the characters. And I would have much rather used my imagination or had been shown the fates rather than been told them. That's what I mean when I say it starts to crumble toward the end. It's unfortunate because I really liked this movie and I wanted to love it. I guess I just wanted it a little tighter. The length doesn't bother me, it's just what they did with that extra time, and not all of it worked for me. Regardless, I still think The Brutalist is a very good movie that deserves to stand with films like Killers of the Flower Moon, epics that need more attention and love so we can keep getting films like them. I give The Brutalist 3.5 stars out of 4. The performances are first rate in this movie, and I'm pretty sure Adrien Brody is going to win. It is well deserved in my opinion. Wicked is nominated for 10 Oscars. Best Picture, Best Actress in a Leading Role, Best Actor in a Role, Best Editing, Best Music Original Score, Best Sound, Best Production Design, Best Visual Effects, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, and Best Costume Design. I wanted to like this movie more than I did, and I think my biggest issue with this movie is that when I went in, I had no idea it was part one of a two-part. I didn't know that until it said to be continued at the end of the film. I don't recall seeing it in any advertising, but I didn't see any of the trailers, so that might be my own fault. But regardless, that made me feel insulted that they want to make you wait another year for the story to conclude because Hollywood got to get their money. I understand why Dune did that because it's telling the story of one huge book in 2 movies, whereas Wicked is telling essentially a 4-hour story over the course of 2 films, when the play itself is like 2 hours and some change. Do we really need that much padding and world? It's the world of Oz. What is there that we didn't already know? I think Thea Erivo is really great in this movie, and Ariana Grande is good too, but I hated her character so much. That's not her fault because I know that I'm supposed to hate her character, but good grief, she got on my nerves so much after about 40 minutes. I know Popular is a huge song in Wicked, but I've never liked the song because the character Glinda represents people I just do not like associating myself with. I don't think I can really blame this movie for that, so I don't really hold it against it. I just hate Glinda if I'm being honest with you. The production design is amazing, costume design, all of it is great. I love the soundtrack, I own it, and I listen to it pretty regularly. But I think my biggest problem with this movie is twofold. One is that I just don't like that it briefly touches on the love triangle and then just forgets about it for the rest of the movie, expecting you to remember it all when you come back this holiday season. I get really mad at dangling threads that are only there to get you to pay more money. I also think that this movie is just too in love with itself. I just get this sense of smugness throughout the whole picture. I don't think it's any one person or thing that is giving it off. I just think it's the way it's designed, shot, and edited. Like it wants to show you how great it is. And films that feel that's insincere to me just rub me the wrong way. There is no way I could ever call this a bad movie. My mom would kill me if I did that. But I can say that the stage musical feels authentic, whereas this movie does not. It's hard for me to describe. Wicked is a good movie, but it reeks of commercialism and not authenticity. I won't blather any more about it. I'll just say that once I see part 2, I want to and hope I can change my opinion on part 1 once the puzzle itself is complete. But something about Wicked's aura left a bad taste in my mouth. I know it's the movie to love from 2024, and please don't let me stop you from loving it, but as of this writing, I just don't love it. I give Wicked a high 2.5 stars out of 4. A good film with wonderful performances that just feels insincere to me. I'm sure we'll win all of the awards next year for part 2, so we'll see, I guess. I'm Still Here is nominated for 3 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Actress in a Leading Role, and Best International Feature Film. This is the movie that made me have to delay making this video by almost a week because I just saw it 2 days ago. But my god, it was worth the wait because I'm Still Here is such a good movie. It blew me away. I saw it with a packed theater, which excited me because that means it's getting attention from its nominations. I think the distributors of this movie did such a smart thing by not putting this on streaming just yet. It is getting people to go to the theater for what's basically an independent film, and that makes me incredibly happy. I'm Still Here is about a family living in the military dictatorship that was in Brazil in the 1970s. The patriarch of the family is the victim of a forced disappearance, and the mother and oldest daughter are also taken into captivity for a brief amount of time. And we spend the rest of the picture watching the matriarch try and raise her family of 5 children, one of which is going off to college in, I believe it was Britain, while also trying to find out what happened to her husband. The government that took them is denying any of her claims, so we watch the resilience of this woman to go from house mom to an activist fighting against tyranny in a diplomatic way. Fernanda Torres is ungodly unbelievable in this movie. I focused on her, the pain she has to hide from her children because the younger ones are never told what is really going on, and also watching her try and figure out how she can fight for her and her husband's rights. The first 85% of the movie seems to have been shot on film and has a very grainy dirt look to it, to appear like it was taking place in 1970. The movie is so epic with its subject matter, and it manages to maintain its epic feel despite it taking place mostly in the family house and a few buildings. Most of the film is shot with close-up shots and medium shots. There isn't too many long shots, like scope shots. But that style choice helps us feel the trapped feeling that this family has because they are constantly being watched. There isn't any action in a traditional sense in this movie, but it is paced so perfectly that you never know what is going to happen to these people next. The filmmakers do a brilliant thing and let us spend a good 40 minutes or so with the family and make it seem like it's a drifting kind of story, so we get to know the whole family and what all their relationships are to each other, what their dreams are, and so much more. It's about 40 or 45 minutes in where the law enforcement shows up at their door and stay there for days and days and days, wearing basic clothing but have guns to show you that they are not messing around. Because the film is shot so tightly, you feel a sense of dread that this situation could explode at any moment. When our main character returns from her imprisonment after 12 days, we see her clean herself up and hold back all the emotions for the sake of her family. The facial acting done by Fernanda Torres is next level here. You sense that she could break down at any time, but she never does because she doesn't want to wallow in her misery. She wants to stand up for her and her family's rights. It's powerful stuff we're watching here. The way the movie starts off with the family finding a stray dog, and the dog becomes a vital turning point for what the mother does later in the story, is just magnificent writing. I'm Still Here is based off of a book, and I loved this movie so much that I ordered the book the minute I got home from my screening. The only issue I have with it is there is basically 2 epilogues, and I don't think the second one needed to be in there personally. I know that it's there because this is based off of a real person, and they wanted to tell the entire story. But the second one seemed like it was just there for a check-in. I don't want to spoil it, I just didn't think the last 5 minutes were that necessary. Stick around through the end credits because you see pictures throughout all of them, and they're nice to see after everything you have just watched. I love this movie and I can't wait to see it again. I think some people want it to be more about the woman becoming an activist and have reservations because it doesn't show all the work she puts in, but I prefer it this way because it shows you the perspective of her raising her family, and I wouldn't have it any other way personally. I can read the book and the history of this woman to learn about her being an activist, so I'm good there. I'm glad I got to see this woman as a wife and a mom. I give I'm Still Here 4 stars out of 4. This movie is becoming a sleeper hit financially, and that makes me so goddamn happy. I hope more people go out and see this. It's one of the best international films I've seen in years, along with another I will talk about later. The Substance is nominated for 5 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Actress in a Leading Role, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Makeup and Hairstyling. This movie was number 2 on my favorite films of the year list, so I think you know what I'm going to say here. I love this movie so much. There hasn't been that many movies made in recent years with the amount of fire that The Substance has. Demi Moore easily gives the best performance of her entire career. Margaret Qualley is beautiful, mesmerizing, and equally great as Sue. Dennis Quaid is the perfect slimeball. The body horror in this movie is not used to shock people, though it may be shocking to some. It is used in service of the existential crisis our main character is going through. I know that thousands upon thousands of people on this platform have raved about this movie since last fall, so I don't know what I could add here, but to say that you need to see this movie right now. It is not just a horror movie, it is straight up hilarious. The Substance makes fun of itself, and makes fun of our characters a lot. Everything about this movie is ridiculous and over the top, and that's by design. It wants to let you know that you are seeing gross stuff with the body horror, but it wants you to have fun while you are watching it. And speaking of the body horror, I think that there is really only one instance of that, and that's when Sue is born. The rest of the body horror is saved for the finale for the most part, which ironically enough is sort of detached from the rest of the story. Except for the very last scene, of course. I view the entire last 20 minutes as a fun epilogue for the blood fiends that are watching, myself included. I love how wild the ending is because once you understand the rules of how everything works, you know it's all going to go crazy because it's a horror film. But the way it does go crazy, it's just so fun that you can't help but be delighted in what you're watching, no matter how disgusted you feel while you are watching it. The Substance is basically a perfect movie to me. Every scene is important, has purpose, and progresses the story well. The performances are god tier here, especially by Demi Moore, and the ending will please any horror fans. I don't know what else to add. I love this movie so much, but I don't think it should win Best Picture. I'll come to that in a moment, and just say that I give The Substance a huge hug and 4 stars out of 4. If you haven't seen Coralie Forgeau's first film, Revenge, I strongly recommend that as well. And man, she has a fire in her soul that I haven't seen in a director in a very long time. And I can't wait to see what she does next. So out of those 10 films, what do I think is going to win and what do I want to win? I think Anora is going to win, but I can totally see Conclave stealing it for being the safest film for Hollywood to say, yep, this is the film we want to represent us. Especially after all the backlash that went against Emilia Perez, the ending of Conclave dips its toes into similar viewpoints, so I wouldn't be surprised if it stole it. But I do think and want Anora to win this award. Why Anora and not The Substance? Because I think Demi Moore is going to win Best Actress. And since Mikey Madison can't have that, I think Anora is the better overall story between the two. The Substance is way more fun, but Anora is more humane and is more of a complete story. The Substance will be remembered for moments, and I think Anora will be remembered for its crazy mixture of romance, eroticism, comedy, and the indelible character of Annie as the years progress. So while I like The Substance slightly more, personally, I would be happy to see Anora win. Or hell, I'll take I'm Still Here winning. I think they'll give that Best International Film. And what a segue to that category. So I have seen all but one of the films nominated for Best International Film. That is The Seed of the Sacred Fig. I just haven't had time to watch it yet, but I plan on watching it this weekend. The other 4 films I have seen. The nominees were Emilia Perez, which I have already talked about to death. I'm Still Here, which I already talked about earlier. Flow, which I will talk about when we get to animated film. And The Girl with the Needle. So I have a review of The Girl with the Needle on my channel, and it is the other best international film I've seen in recent years, along with I'm Still Here. And it's a beautiful film, but one that I don't know if I ever want to see again because of how dark it is. Check out my review of the film to get my full analysis of it if you'd like. It's a great movie, but it is so bleak that it requires a specific mood to watch it, though I do still recommend it highly. I personally hope that I'm Still Here wins this category, or Flow, since that won't win Best Animated Film. I'd be happy with either of those selections, basically anything other than Emilia Perez. Before I move on to animated film, there are some acting nominations and writing nominations I need to talk about that aren't in the big categories. The Apprentice is nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Actor in a Leading Role and Best Actor in a Supporting Role. I almost did not watch this movie for obvious reasons, but I did manage to sit through it, and it was pretty well done. And I can't argue the nominations, especially the one for Jeremy Strong. He is so strong in this movie as a mentor. He was so matter-of-fact and just a complete jerk, but a jerk that gets results. He shows you what kind of a prick he is, and you can't take your eyes off of him. I had issues with the movie overall because it just doesn't really tell us anything new, and the behavior of our lead just seemingly changes for unknown reasons. But it was an okay movie with good performances. I don't want to talk about it anymore though, so I'll just say that I give The Apprentice 2.5 stars out of 4. A Real Pain is nominated for Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor. I have a review for this movie on my channel if you want to check it out. I loved it. Kieran Culkin will win this category and he deserves it. He is just incredible in this movie. Check out my review if you want to hear more about that. September 5 has 1 Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay. I honestly expected this movie to get more nominations. I have a review for this film on my channel also. I think the writing in this movie is amazing, but I thought it would have gotten nominated for editing, cinematography, and costume design, but it didn't, and that surprises me honestly. It's a really good movie. Check out my review if you want more information. Colman Domingo is nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role for Sing Sing, and the film is also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. And I think those are well-deserved nominations. He is so good in this movie as a guy who is in prison, and the only thing he can grab onto is this play that he and his fellow inmates put on for each other. I think Sing Sing is really good and powerful, and shows that not everyone who is locked up is a bad person. They just made a poor decision. I like that it shows us that. Colman Domingo absolutely deserves this nomination, and please check out Sing Sing if you haven't. It's highly underrated in my opinion. I give it 3.5 stars out of 4. The only documentaries I saw that are nominated are Black Box Diaries, which I really liked, and Sugarcane, which I was enjoying until I fell asleep watching it, because it was 3 a.m. and I was marathoning Oscar-nominated films. Sorry, filmmakers, the movie isn't bad, I just forgot I was human. To quickly go over Best Animated Feature Film, I liked Inside Out 2, though I thought that anxiety was let loose for too long, and the movie seemed to be spinning its wheels instead of showing us more characteristics of the new characters that weren't just anxiety. 3 stars. Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. I have a review for this on my channel. Check that out if you want. It's very good. Memoir of a Snail. This is a really good movie, but man, does it not let its foot off your throat until the very end. The entire movie is just a downer of a story, and it got to a point where I was about to tap out because the sadness wouldn't stop. But I love the animation in the movie, and the story of brother and sister is sweet, even if it is bittersweet. Check this one out for sure. 3.5 stars out of 4. The Wild Robot. This will win this category, and it's really good. The fox is my favorite character, and the fact that it's Pedro Pascal blew my mind because that sounds nothing like Pedro Pascal. He did a great job disguising his voice. The relationship between Roz and Bright Bill is really awesome, but I think the film drags just a little bit, and why did we need to have GLaDOS be the main villain in this movie? I don't understand, but I still think it's a really good animated film that I will gladly watch again. 3.5 stars. Lastly is Flow. Oh man, I love this movie so much. Flow reminds me of some of the best family films I've ever seen, like The Black Stallion and Homeward Bound. Films that I think are going to last years and years. What makes Flow so wonderful is there is no dialogue, and it doesn't have weird side plots that don't fit in with the rest of the story. We just follow a cat through its adventures of rising waters in wherever it lives. You don't know when the movie takes place, where it takes place, or anything, and that's one of the things that makes it so beautiful. It becomes timeless by not identifying any time and all time. I love Flow, and I will be watching this with any kids that enter my family for the rest of my life. I really secretly hope that it wins this category, but I'm pretty sure it won't. I just want to congratulate everyone who made it. This is something that if it is discovered by the right people, can last for generations to come. If you haven't seen Flow, you owe it to yourself to please check it out. It's not just a kids movie, it's for everyone, and the cat is so adorable. 4 stars out of 4. Great film. Okay, I think that's all. Whew. This might be the longest video I've ever done since I started this channel, but I think I've covered everything. What is everyone's views on the Academy Awards? Please let me know in the comments. Maybe next year, if I have the right equipment, I will stream the Oscars. I think that'd be fun. Anyway, I also review new movies, horror movies, silent movies, and much more. So if you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.